Would you or someone you know like to be a guest on Listen Up? If so, give us a call at area code 816-535-1081. That's area code 816-535-1081. Or better yet, email us at listenupblackpeople@gmail.com.
Hello everyone, I'm Kelvin Tiller, owner of Tiller's Mixed Martial Arts here in Kansas City, Kansas. Here at Tiller's Mixed Martial Arts, I offer boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling, and strength and conditioning. We have affordable pricing for adults and children. I am open Monday through Saturday, so please come out and support, and I hope to see you soon.
Hi, I'm Adrienne Curry.
Hi, and I'm Florence Curry.
And we are the owners of Longevity Nutrition.
Longevity Nutrition is a company that serves healthy shakes, energizing teas, sports nutrition, and we would like to offer you good nutrition.
What better way than to think about your health and become healthier? We're here to service you. We're open Monday through Friday, 6:30 to 5, and Saturdays, 8 to 3.
Yes, and we're going to work on that good nutrition, inside out.
That's right.
Hi, I'm Tova Tanner of Royal Cohesive Network. We are a nonprofit organization that work with youth in the local community. Our 4 cornerstones of sustainability are literacy, youth entrepreneurship, homeschool hub, and also gardening. Our mission is to engage people in educational and professional development to enhance sustainability. You can visit our website at www.royalnetwork.org, or you can follow us on Facebook. You can also email us at info@royalnetwork.org.
Pine Hill Productions, providing voiceover and narration for your production needs.
This episode of Listen Up is sponsored by Legends Comedy Club and Sports Lounge, Kansas City's premier black-owned comedy club where the laughs are on us and the experience is second to none. All right, Mr. Charles Moore.
Absolutely.
Owner, CEO, and coach of Triple Threat Athletics.
Yes, sir.
Man, look, I like that name. How did you come up with that name?
Well, you know, it honestly came from what we strive to have happen. I mean, Triple Threat is a competitive cheer gym. So for us, what we look for is creating an athlete that's a triple threat. In our world, what that means is that they're an athlete that can pretty much do anything.
Okay.
I mean, there are three main components when it comes to cheer. You have your guys that are your girls that are flyers, you have your girls that are bases, and you have your girls that are just really tumblers. What we then want them to be able to do is to really accomplish all three tasks with maximum efficiency.
Tell us a little bit about you. Tell us about Charles Moore. How did you get into coaching and being the owner and CEO of a cheer? Is it a gym or a cheer gym?
Well, it's kind of funny. It's a funny story. I started out in football. I played football all throughout college. And then my senior year, one of my friends was like, hey, you know, we should, our team is going co-ed this year.
Right.
We're pretty good at athletics. Maybe you should try out. I was like, all right, you know, it's a free trip to Disney World because we competed at nationals. So it's honestly where I actually started it because I was like, hey, a free trip to Disney World in the winter, right after Christmas break. I mean, that's a secondary vacation. But also at the same point, you know, I wanted to kind of try something new. I've never done it before. And I went to try out. It took me about 5 minutes to learn a skill called a back tuck.
Right.
And from that point on, I mean, it was skill after skill that I was just hungry to be able to obtain. And that whole thing right there is just that hunger that drives me to continue to do the sport. I mean, ultimately with everything that we do, there's always room for growth. There's always new creative skills. There's something new that I'm chasing after. The hunger and the drive never stops. So finished up football and talked to my coach. He said, okay, cool, you don't have to do winter weights and conditioning. Little known fact, he knew about cheer and how tough it was. I didn't. As soon as we started practices, I was like, this is the toughest sport I've ever done in my life. I mean, you have back-to-back practices, 3.5 hours, and you have a 1 hour break for lunch, and you know, you have it 3 times in a week. It's just terrible. But I definitely loved it, and I started coaching it and started getting really good at the coaching aspect, and there was just always a wealth of information that I was able to really try to strive to obtain throughout my coaching life. So
that's cool.
I love it.
And you know, it's funny. So now you said this was when you was in high school, right?
No, in college.
In college. And that was when that's when you drew your interest.
Yep.
So how old were you about that time?
I was 20. I actually was right before I was 22.
With you doing cheerleading, being a cheerleading coach, because like you know, a lot of people don't see men participating. We still have that stereotype.
Absolutely.
You see what I'm saying? So being a coach, how are you received in the cheerleading world, especially and even being a black man?
I know.
doing cheerleading, so you kind of have that double whammy going on.
Yeah.
So how do they receive you as a coach in cheerleading?
You know, I think it really comes down to what people see. My dad has always said that perception is what you. Well, really, what it means is from where you sit is what you see, and from what you see is what you do. So what it boils down to is, I always say, look at the record, okay? Numbers don't lie. When it comes down to being a male coach, you know, I see my athletes, and what I dictate as my numbers is the skills that they're able to obtain. And ultimately, you know, when it comes to a guy, a lot of people would think, oh man, you're a guy, you're a black guy in cheer, and how's that different? You know, the funny thing is a lot of female athletes trust us when it comes to learning new skills. I've had tons of times where, you know, I have a female athlete learning a new skill where they're throwing something, what we like to call an aerial skill, whether it be a tuck or a layout or full. And ultimately, it's funny, my athleticism that I gained from football actually helped me when it came to becoming a coach. You got to have fast feet, same thing as a defensive back. You got to have fast hands, same thing as a defensive back. So ultimately, they see us as a more of a trusting aspect, but there's still still is that stigma because of the fact that we're a male coach coaching a female sport. How do we do it? You know, the biggest thing is that we just focus on what they need to be able to accomplish.
Right.
You know, whatever we are, whoever we look like, whatever we do, it boils down to what skills can you get my child? And that's what it comes back down to.
Right.
If they see the skills being done by this child, then it's that Jones effect. Okay, this girl got this skill. Where did she get that skill? She got it from this one. They don't care what I look like. They care about their kid being successful. And it doesn't matter who it is, what they look like, what gender they are, as long as that kid is being taught, you know, with top-notch skills. That's what it boils down to. As a matter of fact, one of the best gyms in the entire nation, Brandon's All-Stars, is actually run by a black male coach.
That's awesome. I like that. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
As a mentor, as a coach and a mentor, what are some of the things that you'd like to see in coaching, and what are some of the things that you do as a coach, or things you like to focus on as a coach when you're mentoring to your guys and girls?
Well, you know, when it comes to the things that I like to see from a coaching perspective, I like to see athletes have fun.
Right.
A lot of times these coaches, they forget the fact that these are kids. You know, they want it's funny that sometimes coaches might even be the person that tries to live their glory days through their athletes. And when a kid stops having fun, then that's when they're just not going to really want to work for you. I mean, I've had a coach one day that came to me and he said the most powerful thing I've probably ever heard as a coach. Kids will do what they want when they want to do it. The thing is, as a coach, what makes the better coaches from the coaches that are just decent is that the better coaches understand that fact and they give the kids something that they want to do.
Absolutely.
So when it comes to us, we live by 3 rules at our gym. It's the same mantra that I've used for my life, and it's the same thing that I use when I teach my kids. You know, do your job. It's actually part of the 3 rules that we have for Triple Threat. Do your job. You got to do your job. No matter if you're, you know, at home, at school, at work, if you're a grown person, if you're a little kid, you always have to do your job. You have to do your job to the best of your ability. That means give it 100% effort. Everybody comes with this 120 maximum effort. Listen, you're not going to get 120 maximum effort for a kid. You know, it's just not going to happen. Heck, you're not even going to get it from an adult half the time. But give your best shot. That's all we ask. Give your best shot. And then trust your teammate and your coaches to do their job. See, the thing about those 3 rules is that it's always full circle. See, the thing is if an athlete doesn't do their job, then that means that they can't do their job to the best of their ability because they're just not doing it in the first place, which means that their teammates lose their trust in them. Same thing with coaches. If a coach isn't doing their job, say they come to practice and they're thinking about something that happened in their personal life and they're not 100% there for those kids notice that. And if they're not doing their job to the 100% of their ability, then the kid's not going to work hard for them, and ultimately the kid cannot trust that coach. And it also comes with the parents. That's how I deal with my parents. When my parents come to me, I always ask them, okay, what was your job? Did you do that job to the best of your ability? Then if that's the case, you have to replace that with me too. If my job is to do A, B, and C, then I'm going to do my job A, B, and C. That's what you pay me for. Okay? I'm going to do my job to the best of your ability because your money is not wasted here.
Absolutely.
Now you just have to take that leap of faith to trust me to do my job. And that's the thing. When you come with those 3 rules, with it, whether it be at work, at school, and family, relationships, no matter what it is, those 3 rules will trump all. And ultimately, it will get a person to understand whatever aspect that you're trying to explain to them. And it gets an athlete to understand whatever aspect. It's easy to coach an athlete and not raise your voice when you set a standard. The reason why coaches get upset and they raise their voice is because they're upset because a kid didn't do A, B, or C. Well, did you set the standard? If you didn't set the standard, then you can't raise your voice. You can't allow your emotions to get in the way of your coaching. Because coaching is not an emotional sport. It's not. It's a logical sport. That's why coaches are cerebral assassins. Look at Bill Belichick. Look at Nick Saban. They intimidate other teams because of their coaching, not because of what they say, not because of how they coach. It's because of what they bring to the table.
I agree. I agree with that. When we look at cheerleading, most of us, we look at cheerleading as being something that we see women doing on the side of the football field. But let's talk about competitive cheerleading, not cheerleading for the sake of inspiring a team to make that goal or to make that basket or whatever. But tell us a little bit about competitive cheerleading. What is that?
Well, competitive cheerleading is different from what I like to call a spirit squad. Okay, so a spirit squad is what you see as a football game. You see kids cheering on their teammates and cheering on their friends that are on the field. You'll see it at basketball games. You know, it's the performance, it's the entertainment. With what we do, there's a difference because our sport is a judge sport. So the best way to equivalate that is you take dance, okay, then you mix it with gymnastics,
Right.
then you mix it with acrobatics. You put that together, that's competitive cheerleading. Each team in the competitive field has 2.5 minutes to put the certain amount of elements on the table or on the floor, okay? You have to do these elements to a certain standard. So we have 2 sets of scores. We have your technique and we have your difficulty. Kind of coming back to the do your job. My job is to create the difficulty. That's why we seek out the best coaching and we look for, you know, what aspects varsity, which is our governing body, or USASF needs us to be able to do to create the most difficult stunts that we can within that level.
Right.
Now it comes to the athlete doing their job, which is the technique. And that's where the coaching comes in. An athlete has to understand exactly how to perform a skill in order to get the highest score in technique. Okay? Now, once you put that together, that's what gives you your aggregate score. Okay? And then they take that score and they compare it to everybody else that performed. That sounds simple, but it's not, because in 2.5 minutes you have, you know, in 2.5 minutes you have 46 8 counts to do a certain amount of things inside that 46 8 counts, and you have to do it the best, and that's the competitive aspect of it. You drop a stunt, you're not going to win. You don't throw a pass, you're not going to win. It's an individual sport with a team aspect, but the team aspect trumps the individual side, which is quite perplexing. However, to make it very simple, competitive cheerleading is one of the most toughest sports that a kid can ever do, because you literally have to use every single muscle fiber in your body in order to compete, from your toes being pointed all the way through your smile when you're doing your dance.
Right.
So as far as explaining what competitive cheerleading is, it's a sport where there is so much energy given that at any given time a team could come out on the floor from anywhere, from any place, with any athlete, with any coach, and just put something out there that literally will bring tears to your eyes, because you see these kids fighting for each other, you see the coaches cheering for them. It brings a certain energy at a competition that I've never really ever experienced in any sport I've ever done.
That's awesome. How do you I guess convince people who come into the cheerleading organization as someone who wants to compete, be a competitive cheerleader, and they say, well, you know, I was hoping that maybe I could be a flyer, but they have the body type of being a base. As a coach, how do you say, hey, you know what, I know this is probably what you want to do, but you would be more qualified for this particular position? Because I say that because my daughter was a cheerleader, but she was a base. And I tried to explain that to her. I said, the reason why you're probably doing what you're doing is the way you're built and structured and everything. So as a coach, what do you do as far as like trying to convince that youth that this is what a better position for you?
Well, that's the best. The best way to really handle that. It's very simple. It goes right back to the 3 rules. See, the thing is that you have to be able to do your job, and you have to do your job to the best of your ability.
Absolutely.
So I asked that athlete, okay, let me ask you a question. Do you think that you could do your job in the air as a flyer? Now, obviously, they're going to say yes. And if I say, can you do your job to the best of your ability? Yes, you can. But can you trust your teammates to do their job? Do you feel that your teammates are going to be able to do an effective job with you as a flyer, or do you think that you would be better suited as a base? The thing about kids is that kids care about other kids in a sense that we don't really catch it as we're an adult. It's something about each generation that they just kind of care about that generation. And when they see their other teammates and they're like, okay, I think that they might have a struggle trying to get me in the air, then it answers the question for them. I don't have to directly say, hey, listen, I'm sorry, sweetie, but your body size is not meant to fly. I'm not going to say that to a girl.
Right.
There is teenage girls. They have more people in this world trying to destroy who they are through social media, through TikTok, through Facebook, through Instagram, through Snapchat, the list goes on and on and on. You know, all these, and they have so much pressure on them to be this body type or this body style, or Nicki Minaj, Megan Thee Stallion, all these other people who they are pressured to be like.
Right.
I'm not going to make them do that. I'm going to make them come to the realization that they would be better to do their job more effectively in a different position. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to cheer, you're right, there are different body types. But the funny thing is that I've had flyers when I was in college that were 145. Now you look at somebody and say, hey, I was throwing a 145-pound flyer over my head. They're going to be like, whoa, how did she do that? Well, because she was a former gymnast. So when she flew, she actually flew like she was 110. She was built with muscle. She was built like a tank. She could jump really high. It helped me out a lot. Form and technique, you know. Whereas there are some flyers or some bases that are 145. You know, it really never depends. I mean, obviously there are those obvious cases, but at the end of the day, those obvious cases, they already know. You really don't have to have that conversation. You have those midline cases, but those midline cases, you give them a shot. And if they realize that it can't happen, then it's better for them to have a shot and it not happen than to just say, hey, you're too fat to fly.
Right.
I'm not going to do that. I would never do that. That's just a terrible thing to say to a kid. That causes eating disorders.
Now, is cheerleading, is it seasonal? Is it like a season for cheerleading, or is it just year round?
Okay, so the season for cheer is complicated, and the reason why is because technically it's a year-round sport, but we only compete, let's say, 9 months out of the year. So typically what will happen in a given season is, for instance, let's take us for example. We started training in June with our Mount Olympus program. That's our month where we don't do tryouts, okay? We do a month evaluation where I put these kids through like just the craziest of drill camps to get their body conditioned to do cheer. And if you make it through Mount Olympus, you're good. We find a spot for you. And Mount Olympus really just weeds out those who can't do it. It's kind of like high school football nowadays. They don't have tryouts, but they make those first like week of practices really, really tough. And those kids be like, you know what, Mom? I'm just not going to wake up and go to practice today. It's just not going to happen for me. Can I join band?
Join band.
So ultimately, once we get through Mount Olympus, which is in June till July, then we start going through our stunt camp. And then from July to August, we're doing stunt camp. From August to September or August to October, that's when you're usually doing your choreography. You bring in a choreographer, they bring your routine and all this stuff. And then September, normally teams would start competing in October or November. I have one main rule. I do not compete before Christmas. Why? Holidays. Kids, they're kids. You know, they're going to have family trips that they have to go on. They're going to have to visit family. I can't say, hey, guess what? You missed practice. You're off the team when it's Thanksgiving. They don't even hold competitions during these weekends. And then, you know, obviously we have Christmas. So I don't compete until January, but some teams do. And also those teams do not look good in November and December because it's just too fast. Once again, they're kids. But really the season, the meat of it is from January all the way until really May, where you have your World or your summit or your U.S. finals. So our season technically for us is from January to May. But for the normal, you know, big gym, they'll start competing in October. October all the way through till May. But the thing is that it's a year-round sport because you're constantly training. You miss a practice, there is no there's no second string, but there are kids who are in positions where they're maybe tumbling and they're practicing at home. I had a kid this year practicing at home. I had a kid who wasn't doing her job in the air. I said, okay, well, somebody can be able to take your spot. And guess what? Another kid who literally got in trouble for trying to throw her elite stunt sequence in the middle of a restaurant came in and took that spot. Fair and square. Kind of like, what's that movie? Drumline. Took that base spot.
So, if someone wanted to become a part of Triple Threat Athletics, as a website, contact information?
Yeah, absolutely. You can definitely look us up on Facebook. You can look us up on Facebook on Triple Threat Athletics. The logo kind of looks like a crown with a 3T3.
Gotcha.
As well as you can send us an email at T3ATH3TICS@gmail.com.
Gotcha.
Or you can give us a call at 816-905-8702.
Okay.
What we'll do is we'll put your kid through an evaluation. Now, I'll be honest, right now our sessions our teams are closed because we're getting ready to compete here in about 4 weeks. But what we do offer is we offer tumbling sessions, and what that does is it actually allows your kids to take a year to learn how to tumble and be able to tumble at a certain level, because most of the levels that we determine is based on tumbling skill. And that's how we kind of determine what level of cheer. There's 7 levels. We have level 1, level 2, level 3, and then we have a level 16.
Okay, gotcha. So when is the season start for?
January 17th.
January 17th.
Yep, or 16th.
16th. January 16th. Now, how does that work with with the COVID and everything going on?
Yeah, it's actually pretty interesting. It's funny because they've made these competitions essentially miniature NBA bubbles.
Gotcha.
As we remember, we had the NBA bubble where you could go in, you couldn't go in, you couldn't come out. What they do is they take the athletes, each team comes at a specific time, and then the parents wait outside the venue. One side is parents that are coming in to see their kid. The other side is parents that are leaving from seeing their kid perform. The kids, they go out, they go to the practice room, they do their warm-ups, they practice, and then they go out on the floor, they throw their routine, and then after that point, they literally shuffle them out of the door. Once you're shuffled out of the door, everybody comes at home, and then later on in the evening around 8:39, that's when they do awards. Now, before it was very non-COVID friendly because you take every team, you put them on the mat, and then they have Jamie coming out, and everybody's yelling, doing the cha-cha slide, waiting for awards, and then you do your awards, but everybody was nowhere near 6 feet apart, so couldn't do awards like normal. But virtual awards have been interesting this year. It's kind of different because you just kind of have to hold your breath for the rest of the day.
All right, man, Mr. Charles Moore.
Absolutely.
With Triple Threat Athletics.
Yes,
man,
sir.
Thank you for being on the show, man.
Absolutely.
We appreciate you. We appreciate you. Hey, man, I look forward to having you back on and we talk a little bit more.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, man.
Right,
I appreciate the opportunity.
I appreciate you. And that concludes our show for this evening. We'd like to thank our guests, our staff, our sponsor, and our supporters for their contributions. But most importantly, we'd like to thank you, our viewers. Be sure and tune in for our next broadcast and follow us online. Thank you. Good night.